Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5 Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about lament and how I feel bad that Protestants don't have saints to look up to, I should say. Now, before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti, Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, et secutor erat principio, et nunc et semper, et secula seculorum. Amen. All right, so what do I mean that Protestants don't have saints? First of all, I want to clarify, because there are thousands of Protestant denominations, so there are going to be certain Protestants, let's say Anglicans, that do have saints. And what do I mean by do have saints? So saints, by the definition, are people that used to be alive that are currently in heaven. We also include angels as saints, so essentially anybody that's in heaven. So the church has the ability, because it has the ability to bind and unbind, to designate certain people as being saints. So we canonize them. There's a step process, but we call it canonization is the last step. And canonization just says that the church confirms that this person is in heaven. Now, you and I can die and end up in heaven and be called saints. You don't need the church to say that, but the church will say that for certain people of virtue or certain persons that were role models. And that gets to my point. And so what do I mean by Protestants don't have saints? I think we're really blessed as Catholics and Orthodox and some other groups that have saints. Why? Because saints are role models. That's the whole reason that we respect them. And if you go back to the words for worship, remember, we only give latria or worship to the Trinity, but we give dulia to saints, to the Virgin Mary. It's just a question of respect. We respect them. And so, being a human, Christ says, we take up our cross and we're going to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, to quote Shakespeare. So being alive can be hard. It can be hard. And having the saints, the ones we know about, because again, there's a lot of people in heaven that we don't know about their life, but the saints that we do know about, Teresa of Avila, St. Rita of Cascia, Thomas Aquinas, St. Albert. I mean, the list goes on. Little Flower, Maximilian Kolbe. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can go back to the apostles, St. Peter, St. Andrew, whoever, St. Felicity. There's just tons. There's just tons, right? St. Augustine of Hippo. But having these people and knowing about their lives and reading their works just gives us so much richness. And what do I mean by that? So we have patron saints. Patron saints are going to be saints that are maybe specific to a certain cause. And why are they a patron saint of something? Because maybe their life was very similar to whatever it's a patron saint of. So look at St. Rita of Cascia. St. Rita of Cascia was a 14th century Italian saint, and she was in an abusive relationship. So she's the patron saint of abused people. And St. Rita of Cascia, I love her story, because her husband was not a good guy, but eventually, because of her Christian virtue, he became a good guy, and then he was murdered in a vendetta. And so their two sons wanted to avenge the death of their father, and St. Rita prayed for their death so they wouldn't do it, and they died of illness. And so, like, a lot of people, even Catholics, they'd be like, that is so weird. Why would you want to pray? Because they weren't able to commit mortal sin. Right? So if they would have committed mortal sin unrepentantly, they could have gone to hell. So St. Rita was happy, because now they theoretically went to heaven. By the way, St. Rita is a patron saint of abused people. And so you have these saints. Think of St. Francis. I mean, what a great role model. St. Dominic gave us the rosary. I mean, I don't have time here to talk about every saint. So if I don't mention a saint that you love, that is your particular patron saint, don't feel bad, like you don't feel slighted. But we have saints of all types, right? You have the contemplative saints. You have the monastic saints, like St. Anthony of the Desert. These guys were in the desert in the Sinai for years, so we learned through them how to live an ascetic life, how to purge yourself of the appetites and whatnot. Then you have the more erudite saints, like St. Thomas Aquinas, probably the most brilliant man of the last 2,000 years in terms of thinking. And we have people like St. Augustine of Hippo, who's another preeminent theologian. We have their writings that have just given us so much. We have other doctors of the church whose writings are amazing as well. Then we have mystics like Catherine Emmerich and Teresa of Avila and St. Faustina. And so we can read their works And or we can read books on the lives of the saints. And forever struggle, whatever struggle you are having, addiction, despair, whatever it is, there's a saint who went through that. See, saints we always think about as being like always perfect and virtuous. Read St. Ignatius' early life. That guy was a hoe. He was sleeping around. He was, living a worldly life. And look at St. Augustine, right? St. Augustine was living in sin. He had a child out of wedlock. So these guys and girls are role models to us in a variety of ways. And as Catholics, we know this. We know this. And so we read about them, or we have the ability to read about them. Or even if you have a daily devotion like the Magnificat. The Magnificat always has a little snippet of the lives of a saint between each day. So it's a way to increase our knowledge on these people. And Protestants, especially evangelical Protestants, don't have these, right? They don't have this great heritage that came from Christian patrimony because they threw it out. Because, the old joke is, why don't Protestants do the sign of the cross? Why don't Protestants do fill in the blank? It's because Catholics do it. So they throw out the baby with the bathwater. And having saints as role models is amazing. And look, it's not to say that evangelicals don't have role models they can look up to. I don't know, Billy Graham or somebody like that. It's not like they don't have it. But like with a lot of things, they're cut off from history. And this is just one of those things from Christian patrimony that is such a useful tool to us as we go through this mortal coil of life. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Who is your saint? Who's your patron saint? I'd love to hear from you. Which saint do you have? Do you love their story the most? Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.